back to another episode of CoVersation, where if it's worth talking about, it's worth talking about together. I'm Devil's Biggie.
I'm Jade Wings.
And this is Zayden1.
And we're here to talk about Towerfall Ascension, the Dark World. Or Dark World. It's for PC. It came out on Steam. It's an indie game. Developer is Matt Thomerson. And it was released around...
I think it's Thorson.
Thorson? Oh, I'm sorry. If I said that wrong, my bad, my mistake. It was release date was May 12th, 2015. And, well, let's go on and let's get talking too. So, who wants to jump in first, or shall I continue?
Well, you can go in and jump in first.
Alright, so...
You have the most familiarity with the franchise.
Yes, I am a little bit more familiar. The Dark World is actually an expansion. It's actually normally known just as Towerfall Ascension. And it's pretty much a archery game, pixelated 8-bit platformer. And there's two different versions of it inside the game, where there's the campaign, and then you have your versus mode. And let's just say there is actually a little bit more tactic to this game that is actually really good. Because when you shoot the arrows, there actually is arch to them. They actually do fall after a certain amount of length. And you can actually catch arrows in midair. You can actually get killed by your own arrows if you shoot straight up and don't move. So you can actually potentially kill yourself. And they put a lot of detail into this game, because you can actually pin your enemies on the wall, whoever you're fighting against, or you can burn them up. It's really good. The story of it is not too complicated. It's pretty much there's kind of like this corruption going on, and this evil Bane is just trying to get through, and pretty much you're hired to get destroyed. Pretty much, it's pretty simple, straightforward. It's main focused on gameplay and visuals, and I have to say, for an 8-bit, the visuals on this are really good. The characters, even though 8-bit, like when you're looking at them, they're very well made. They're very well drawn out for their palette, and it's really very good. The music in it as well, it hits that perfect spot too. I love the music on it. It's really good. Like, I have to say the key perk I love about this game would have to be the versus mode. If you get a bunch of your friends or go against a computer, which I think you can set it up that way, I'm not too sure. I think you have to go against a human actual person. But you play this with just one friend, you can set it up to just have like unlimited arrows and a bunch of bouncing arrows. Chaos. But it's amazing. It's fun. And I feel like there's a lot of replayability, especially if you're going against your friends.
So yeah, going off that, the story doesn't, the story, I think, for everybody was pretty non-consequential. Am I correct?
No, yeah, it was
really where this game shines, I do feel, is the gameplay. I personally felt like it actually played very well. They actually did quite a few things in the gameplay department that made the game really stand out a little bit. Like, just little things like having it so that your characters actually have character collision really changes the way that you play the game. And shooting the arrows actually felt really good as well. You started to get that trajectory going. Did you, as far as like the controls, did you have any issue with them? Wings?
What I will say, for me, I actually did like this game, but it weirdly enough, I would say if it wasn't for being in a group or doing a Let's Play, I don't think I would normally play Towerfall. Not because it's not a good game, or I would normally play Towerfall without a group, better yet to say. But not because it's not a good game. It's actually a really great game. I do love the way it plays. I'm just very terrible at these games. So,
yeah.
And
we saw some of that.
This is a game that is very, I guess in a sense, unforgiving. If you mess up, then you mess up. And so you kind of have to be on your toes. You've got to have like a slight strategy, and you've got to think quick. And those are some of my worst skills. So I did like the game, but I will say that.
But on the like, did you have a hard time getting a handle on the controls, or was it pretty intuitive?
And that's what I was leading to. I did have trouble, but it's not because they weren't good. I'm just broken.
See, I think it was. I think really the beauty of a game like this is in the simplicity, because if you actually sit down and think about it, the controls are extremely simple. You use 2 buttons, 3 buttons. You use a jump, an attack, and then a dash. And all the complexity in the game just comes from various combinations for, like, that you can catch an arrow by using your dash, or clinging onto walls and jumping around, getting your arrows to arc in the right directions. Like, that's a lot of complexity to get from a simple control scheme. And I always think that's the hallmarks of a well-designed game, control-wise.
Oh, yeah. And what makes it great is that the levels, they keep changing as you go on.
Yes.
So it always gives you that, okay, you may have dominated that map, but it's not going to be the same anymore. Now it's going to change it up. So now you got to worry about new environments, new hazards, if there is any. And now you're thinking on your toes of, like, where am I going to go? Where am I doing this? How am I going to change it up a bit, because now I can't use that same strategy of hanging around in that corner or something like that. So I love that the maps keep changing as you're playing, and there actually is a decent amount of maps, so that way not each level you're playing is going to be the same. And Steam actually opened up a workshop where people make custom maps and stuff like that, which even opens up even more variety of maps and different things that people can do with it too.
Yeah, I agree with you. The level selection was definitely very, actually there were pretty much everything in this game was a high point. It was short, but yes, the variety of levels was very good, along with the enemy variety in the levels. It really found a way to add new enemies to the game that really made you change the way that you played. Which is, once I said, a great testament to how well it was designed for such a short game. There's some games where every enemy is the same, but practically every level introduced a new variation on an enemy that required, okay, this guy disappears when I try to shoot him. This dude shoots my arrows back. This dude, like, shoots arrows at 45-degree angles. This one leaves barbed wires everywhere.
Yeah, and I actually love that there's certain points where it'll introduce like an NPC, so it's another archer that you're dealing with.
Yes.
And those end up being one of the most difficult because they're shooting arrows, they're capturing the same arrows that you're throwing at them, so it's like going back and forth, and it's freaking I just love that the difficulty can kind of spike up for that split second, especially when you're like, oh, I'm on a run.
Yes. Speaking of levels, what did you guys think about the boss designs?
They were nice. They were very nice.
I would have to give it, like, I would say that for how it was for how it panned out great. It's, some of them are pretty different from your average bosses, that's for sure. They have a few unique canaries, but there's a few similarities to a few that if I was to look around, I can maybe find a few that had some similarities to them. But at the same time, the way they were executing it was just good.
Yes, I agree. They kind of went with the basic boss fare of shoot it in the giant glowing weak spot somewhere,
It's true.
which a lot of times was a giant eye. But the designs were interesting enough that it made for a different boss battle every time. Yeah. Each one required vastly different strategies, vastly different styles of play, and different skills. Essentially, you had some that required a little bit more being able to get around. Well, like the first boss had that laser, so a lot of times it wasn't making difficult shots. It just kind of sat there in the middle. It was more avoiding the lasers and things like that.
And I have to say, if you go from normal to legendary, the spike difficulty does go up tremendously, especially when it comes to the bosses.
I don't even know, like, cause the last battle, not even the last battle, the match before the whole take on every single boss, all in one good old go, was, oh my gosh, was impossible. I couldn't even imagine. I don't know if I liked the game and it was really enjoyable, but I don't know if I could really enjoy the game on Legendary. We stepped into a Legendary match just for fun, and I was like, no, just no. Because, I don't know, there's a couple times we were playing that last battle before, the big, finish everything up. And there's a couple times where I almost felt like just hitting myself in the face, like, okay, when is this going to be over? This is torture. So I couldn't even imagine trying to run through this whole thing with Legendary, because it's already it's kind of a little bit hard, especially if you're not, like, really good at these games. So Legendary would just be a beast.
Yeah. I would say for a person who wants more of a challenge, this has it if you want it.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because we played it on normal, and even then when we got to the final boss, we had our difficulties in it, and we did take a while for us to get through it. But
we moved through.
We got through it, and we achieved it and we made it through. And I feel like if we wanted to test our skills to the max, I think we could do Legendary, and I feel like it's balanced out enough where it is beatable, but it is going to take you a while because you're going to be tricking it out. Like, I bet you, because we were dealing with one blade at the bottom, something tells me that there's going to be blades moving everywhere.
Yeah, that's what my thoughts was. It's not the type of difficulty spike where they just make things like, well, everything kills you in one hit now, which can be fun. I've got nothing against that. That's not my type of difficulty, though. But the type of difficulty we did see when we briefly off camera went to the higher difficulties was, so you said more gameplay. Like, it's like, okay, he had one laser now there's 3 lasers, and they're faster. So you just had to be better at the game. It didn't necessarily make it unfairly difficult, and I felt like that throughout this entire game was actually a certain sense of fairness. It's a skill-based game. Whereas when we did go through the boss rush mode, we got through all the bosses much faster than we did the first time.
Yeah.
Which showed how much we had... The game didn't get easier, we just got better at it.
Exactly.
And you could see, wow, we really did improve since we first recorded this game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This definitely has if you practice and you learn how to play it.
I mean, well, even take a look at how we defeated the last boss. I mean, of course you guys didn't see, but we fought it, 4 times at the end when we had to do the last one. I don't think it took us as long, because...
Well, I know the first time we did it, it took us almost...
at least 20 times. It
was a while.
It took us a minute.
And then the second time when we did the boss rush, I think we died at least maybe once, and that was because we made one error. But I actually don't know if we died at the very end or if we died during one of the other boss fights, because I know the ice one became a lot difficult because it was moving around a lot more quickly, and it was moving around a little bit crazier. But we were able to dodge it and get going at it, so it does make it a little bit difficult, but it does. But like you said, yeah, the more you learn, the more you get better at it. It doesn't go harder when you go with the more higher difficulties. It's just if you get better at the game, it's balanced out where your skill cap can handle now that boss.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And back on what you were saying before, the game does also have some pretty amazing visuals. So the game's short, but it's a pleasure to look at. What I really noticed was was almost not just the pixel work, but the animation work is really what's commendable. Just the little how you bounce when you run into another character, like you said, that little bit of putting attention to detail where somebody can stick to a wall when you shoot an arrow through them before they slowly fall to the ground. Touches like that are really what bringing, because those weren't necessary for the gameplay.
Oh, no, definitely. Somebody could have totally been like, no, I don't want to do that, or no, that's going to take too much time, too much work. It can be just simple, just having them fall to the floor, just like that, whatever. But no, they took the time to have them actually be able to stick to the wall. If you actually pick off that arrow, if like you had a blank arrow and you see that character pin, you can actually take the arrow and you'll see that body fall and drop, and it's like, oh man, that body was literally there. Now I just took the arrow, the body unhinged, and there it goes. So the attention to detail is very good, because it just hits the mark. It hits the mark when it comes to that, and it even does it with the enemies as well. Like certain enemies just getting that certain one or hitting that special marker where it's like it does a certain death animation or it does a certain action, and then especially when you're fighting the NPCs and stuff, they move almost like if they're real people. And that attention to detail and then of how a real player would play, people usually make the AI really dumb. And the AI is nothing, and you're just like, I'm just gonna walk up to it and bonk it. But that when you get close, you will most likely 80% die. And even firing arrows is not a guarantee, because it will continue to dash and absorb all the arrows you shoot at it. So it's pretty insane how accurate they get, but the details, the backgrounds, they do very beautifully, and they're all pixelated. They didn't do like an overlay and put a picture in the background. They put it out pixel by pixel and painted it out. And there's different areas, and I love the way the ice world looks. It's one of my favorites. I love ice worlds. When it comes to biomes like that, for whatever reason, ice just gives me that good feeling. I don't know why, but I love the detail they did on the ice ones. But all the other ones look beautiful, and they hit the marker on it.
Yes, I definitely agree. I know you had even mentioned at one point in time, like a character, like their hair flowing after they took a little bit of damage. Like that. That kind of detail is very very well done. But more detail that they've also had in there. I don't think the animation would have been as good without some of the sound design. Not just the music, but just the sound design in general. This game sounds amazing.
I love the music on it. Oh, yes.
And say, when you, like, everything just has a very good visceral feel to it. I noticed even when there was almost no sounds, just the sounds of jumping around and shooting things and getting shot just had a very good feel to it. It really helped add to the impact of the game, to the point where when I was editing it once, the synchronization was off, and I actually noticed, because I was so used to that pitch perfect like animation with the sound. I noticed that it was like a millisecond off.
Yeah, because the arrows have it. When you die, you make a sound effect. It's like your character is going, but it does it in its own unique sound. And yeah, the music is, I love the music, and each music is themed with each world, and it gives it just that it gives it that good vibe to it. And all the sounds are unique too. Like they have different sounds for each one. Like even the characters, they don't talk, but they do a certain sound, and each one has its own little pitch, its own little different thing, and it works perfectly with it. And the Dark World expansion actually gives a lot of different costumes too that add more to it, more enemies and different stuff, and that just adds more to the soundtrack, and just all of them just sound beautiful.
And one thing I'd have to say is I actually I didn't notice the music too much. Not to say it was bad. It must have been, I didn't notice it, so it wasn't bad, but it just didn't stick out to me as much. But maybe that's just because I was paying a little bit more attention to the sound design. Like, I can't think of what any of the music sounded like at this point, which isn't a detriment to say the music was bad, but just in my experience, I just for some reason didn't stick out for me right away.
Honestly, it's not surprising. I know there's certain people that they can play a game without music at all, and they can just listen to gunfire and freaking the characters shouting at each other all day, all night. Because I think, actually, Call of Duty was kind of like that. There really wasn't any real music. It's just kind of quiet and just cunning, and just you're listening to gunfire in the background of a battle. So I can see why certain people are not used to hearing music in the background unless you like listening to music in the background. So for me, when I play a game, I try to listen to the music, because the music gives it that feel. And sometimes, especially when I'm getting in that mode, I'm just like, I gotta get that music. I've had games where just the music is not, no. I can't do it. The music just doesn't hit any marker at all. That I just...
Yeah, and everybody has it. And that game just kind of happened to be this way for me. Like I said, not that it missed the mark, just that on certain games, like with Moon Hunters, I really noticed the background music. In this one, I didn't notice it. Not to say it was bad, but, what did you think, Wings?
I personally, I don't know. I'm very weird when it comes to games, in a sense, because, like, when I play a game like Minecraft, or, I'm trying to think what other games I've been playing recently. I can't even think of any right now because it's so late, but, I tend to actually turn music off. So, when I'm playing a game with E, especially when we're playing a game kind of in person, because, there was a time in our life where, Devil's Big E wasn't here. When we're in person, he likes the music on. I generally just always turn the music off. To me, it's distracting. But it's not to say that the music was good. I really can't remember the music. It wasn't its fault, but I think naturally, especially when I'm playing a game that puts me under pressure, I tend to block the music out. I think it's just a natural reaction.
That's actually a good point, is that it could be just the amount of pressure with the game can kind of make you... There's no slower moments, really. Like in a game like Moon Hunters, it slows down and you have time to appreciate the music. In a game like this, especially since we hadn't played Towerfall before, so we were learning at the same time, there may have just been a little bit too much pressure, and you kind of
Towerfall
chose something to block out.
Yeah, Towerfall's pretty fast paced, so that does make sense.
But on the on how fast paced it is, how did you feel like it played co-op? This was a very fast game, and there were times that it felt like being co-op was awesome, and then times where co-op felt like maybe I need to get these guys out of here.
What you call it? That might be a little pleasure of me not wanting to play co-op. I actually enjoy playing the cooperative because at least then I knew we were gonna actually beat it. If it was just me, I probably would not have gotten through this game due to frustration, because I would have died a lot. So I actually think the cooperative is really nice. It's really nice playing with friends. I actually, as a person who plays games, it's weird. I do play a lot of singular player games, but I tend to play a lot of multiplayer. I prefer them. So this game did a really good job of keeping your friends there, and it's really it's really strange because in some ways it was a good thing, like you said. In some ways it was a bad thing because with your friends being there and they're being kind of like friendly fire. Your friends could be your enemies too. They could shoot you down by accident.
Got
of course.
Taste of that.
We all did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I didn't hit anybody.
But yeah, so I definitely like the game. It did have its ups and downs with that, but I think for me, it had its more ups because I personally don't think I could have beaten this game without you guys. I think I enjoyed the ride while we were on it together.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think this game I do think this game benefited from having multiplayer. Like, I could see how somebody may want to do it on their own. Watching some of the footage, there are times where somebody was carrying the match. It was usually E. Sometimes there was one or two matches where it was somebody else, but it was usually E, where somebody was
when it means somebody else, it means Zayd and not me. Clearly,
because he'd be stuck of reviving Wings, but it acts as having an extra life, which is nice, and there's a little bit more team coordination. You could take things down extremely quickly once you got that teamwork going, and I do think that the gameplay did benefit from having those, the extra people and the extra danger almost. So it does add a little bit more difficulty.
Yeah, it does.
Actually, I'm going to bring it back just for a split second, because actually if you play it single player, it actually gives you a certain amount of lives.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, so you have a certain amount of lives, but when you play multiplayer, lives are actually not included anymore. Now it's pretty much if everyone dies, that's it.
Yeah, that's...
So you can kind of go a bit and last a little bit longer playing with your friends because now you're not on a clock, so it's not, oh crap, I'm on my last life, whatever.
Yeah.
You kind of can keep on going, which is a good thing, but trying to save your friends does leave you open to get shot or get attacked
Plenty of
when
time.
doing it. And it's, if you watch the episode, you'll see that happen a good amount of times.
I felt like when you guys died, I was like, oh crap, now I've got to save them. How the hell am I going to do that? Because clearly I'm not the one doing the saving around here.
Yeah.
So,
but the co-op is very good. It works very well, and it does balance itself out with the friendly fire, because that means now I have to be careful to just not shoot randomly, because now I can kill my friend. Next thing, now I gotta take the time to rescue that person and hopefully not die by an enemy-ridden arrow or damage or whatever they want to do to me. So it balances itself out with that, which is really good. But yeah, I think the co-op works very well.
Alright, well, does anyone have any final thoughts on the game? Wings?
No, I like this game. I don't know if I would say I play it again. Not because it's not a good game. Well, once again, just I'm really bad at these games, and I think I'm the type of person I get very easily frustrated, and I kind of take it out on the other person.
Well, scenario would be like if there was 4 people and 3 of them wanted to play it. Would you mind joining in?
I probably wouldn't join in.
You would. So.
No, I'd probably watch. Because I'm definitely more of a... I think for games like this, I definitely am more of a watcher. Although I'm glad I experienced playing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I'm just like, I'd probably watch and sit there and cheer on. Unless you really got me hyped, and you'd have to really get me hyped. But I think it'd be a lot more difficult now that I've already played it. So I'm like, I played it, I beat it.
You got your feel for it, got it.
Yeah, I definitely think that this game is... If you're looking for a couch co-op game, then I would say that this is probably a game to get. This game worked really well cooperatively. I also think it works. It's short, but I say it's definitely worth it, because you could probably do it in a few hours or so. And it works as really good training for the multiplayer, which we haven't gotten into too much.
Which we
played we played like one competition, I think, with Towerfall, and neither me or Wings had played. I think things may go a little bit more differently now that we've been
I think there's going to be a rematch for it a little bit, but that's going to be in the future. But yeah, my final thoughts on it is, well, being the veteran of this game, since I'm the one introducing it, I fell in love with it, and I'm a big sucker for 8-bit games, so when I saw it was 8-bit, that was already a big giant gold star for me, and I was like, oh my god. Archery, another gold star. I love archery, I love 8-bit, and the way it was made out just worked for me. And at first I thought it was going to be a simple game, but it ended up being more, especially when playing with people. It's such a bigger experience than what you think it's going to be, and it's the details and all that comes so fluently together that I could play this over and over again and never get tired of it. And it's so much fun. And I recommend this to almost anyone who's looking for kind of like a quick action game that they can kind of play once in a while, or just play and get in it. And I'm like, and especially when people want skill-based game, like, that's Towerfall. Play it. No, you were going to say something?
I was going to say, and I'm kind of in that boat where I'm like, I definitely recommend this game. Even though I wouldn't necessarily, like, jump on it again, I definitely recommend it. It was fun to play with friends. I'd definitely be like, hey, if you're looking to have, like, well, I wouldn't say any beers. I don't think you should be drunk playing this game. I think you should be rather...
I don't know. I feel like this could be a great drinking game if you kind of entered it. Yeah.
I don't know. I would not drink when playing this game. I mean, if you think my skills suck already,
I think it's simple enough that even if you were drunk, I think it's still simple enough you can still do.
Okay, let's break this down. For a normal drunk, yes. For Jade Weens drunk, probably not. I can barely even be a human being when on liquor, so that's probably not.
That is true. well, it looks like that's gonna be our end of CoVersation today. But look forward to doing our review in the future. And well, like always, talk together. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.